Elon Musk has, well, so far it's not 100% cleared. I know I'm getting all the pedantic people on Twitter saying it's not done yet. Well, it's pretty damn near done, guys. He's purchased Twitter, and it's got the progressives going bananas, and I love it. This guy is just an amazing disruptor, if nothing else. Whether you like him or dislike him, he sure sets things up. So why are they going so nuts, though? Well, let's go into a bit of it. Now, Twitter has about 339 million daily users, and that's a large number, but it's actually dwarfed by a number of social media platforms. Like Facebook has over 2 billion users. Instagram has a billion. Even TikTok has more than Twitter, and I don't even really fully understand TikTok, but they got 650 million followers. Less than a quarter of North Americans use Twitter daily. So, I mean, if it's a smaller social media outlet, why are the progressives losing their collective minds so badly over Elon Musk's purchase of the platform? Well, it's not so much how many people use Twitter as who uses Twitter. Like, while most typical citizens, obviously 3/4 of them and more, don't use Twitter at all, pretty much every politician, media member, and celebrity does. Twitter punches above its weight in influence among media and policymakers. So, while political discourse can be found on any social media platform, Twitter by far was the most political in nature. Now, it becomes inevitable whenever something becomes politically influential that the politically unprincipled will, of course, want to control it. The ownership and prior management of Twitter began with a somewhat left lean, and they continued an evolution towards a sharp left leaning. The editorial leaning of Twitter went from subtle manipulation of content through methods such as shadow banning to being overtly left leaning and banishing even moderately conservative parody news sites like the Babylon Bee. Shadow banning, for those not familiar with it, is an odious practice where Twitter will throttle the reach of influential conservative voices without actually banning them. Tweets from these people won't reach the scrolls their followers and won't be widely shared. So it gives the illusion that the platform allows for open speech, but these voices are actually being suppressed. There was no veneer of balance, any longer. Twitter's become an influential platform dominated by leftists, and conservative voices were becoming stifled constantly, if not banned altogether, from the platform for the most minor of apparent transgressions. Elon Musk, he's an erratic and interesting character, to say the least. There really hasn't been any indication of some sort of hard-right inclinations on his part historically, though, and I doubt he leans that way. He is, though, a self-described free speech absolutist, so I can understand how he'd be annoyed in seeing an influential social media platform stepping on open discourse so blatantly. Now, there's millions of free speech absolutists in the world, but of course, Musk happens to be the richest man on the planet while he's at it. So rather than sitting back and being annoyed like the rest of us had to, Musk decided to do something about it and bought Twitter. Now, Musk has been launching idea balloons for weeks about what he may do with Twitter, but he hasn't committed to anything solid yet at this point of his purchase. It's only been a day after all. It can be safely assumed, though, that Musk is going to be acting quickly to take the restraints upon discourse from Twitter as one of his first courses of action. I mean, this was a big move. He's not just going to buy it and sit on it and do nothing. Now, the response to that from many leftists, it's been nothing less than hysteric. The usual accusations have already begun, accusing Musk of being a white supremacist. Of course, there's utterly no evidence of this. Those guys, their playbook is so thin, it's almost microscopic. Others are claiming the world is going to descend into total chaos and Nazis will surely become a dominant political world force. I wish I was exaggerating the rhetoric. The left really they're getting totally unhinged. And they must have a really ugly worldview if they really believe that there's a massive world population of Nazis and white nationalists who are only being kept in check through control and manipulation of social media platforms. Now, many people have already decried Twitter as being something of a cesspool of political discourse, and there's some truth to that. Twitter's loaded with anonymous troll accounts bent on nothing more than attacking other users and being offensive without purpose. The thing is, though, it is and always was easy to block these accounts. It only takes a second. The problem, though, is blocking takes a tiny measure of effort and personal responsibility. And both of those principles are things that run contrary to the basis of progressivism, especially personal responsibility. More things that can be done to improve the Twitter experience, though, and Musk has hinted at some of them. I mean, no troll is more bold or annoying than one who can wrap themselves in the cloak of confident anonymity. The worst of accounts are almost always anonymous. When a person has to attach their name to something, it's amazing how much more thoughtful and respectful their discourse often suddenly becomes. Musk isn't talking about eliminating the ability to be anonymous, but he's spoken of creating ways for users to verify their identities online. Right now, The only people who have any form of verification of identities that the platform considers to be are ones that the platform considers to be people of public interest. The process for gaining that status is arbitrary and nebulous. Nobody's quite sure who qualifies for and can gain the precious Twitter blue checkmark. Not everybody who has such verification is necessarily nice or polite. I think I'm an example of that, but they're trackable at least. A system can and should be created where a person can choose to verify their identity while keeping their public identity private. This would stop the spawning of multiple accounts and add a layer of accountability. And there's good reasons why some people may choose to remain anonymous, and we don't want to lose all those voices. Maybe a different colored checkmark could be applied to accounts. I'd be more inclined, though, I can say, to take tweets more seriously from an account that had verified itself than one that was created with no verification, even if it remained anonymous. So Musk has talked about also flushing the bots and fake accounts from the system as well. And that's easier said than done, but if he can find a good way to do it, it would certainly help clean up the platform. There's lots of other things that can be done to improve Twitter, and I hope Musk succeeds in doing them. Twitter is a valuable platform for discourse and amplifying issues. It morphed into a left-wing echo chamber with no regard or respect for free speech. The only way to maintain balance is to open speech up. I don't want to see a conservative echo chamber either. I mean, that's what happened with Gab and Parler. They just didn't quite take off because they were so dominated by conservatives. So it looks like Musk is going to do that. He's going to open speech up altogether and let the chips fall where they will. Time's going to tell if Musk's move is going to improve the platform. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. I mean, I'm really enjoying watching the progressives holding a public temper tantrum over the very concept of free speech. They're exposing themselves for the insecure authoritarians that they are. I mean, if their case is that strong, they shouldn't need to suppress the speech of others in order to make it. Perhaps progressives will pool their own money and buy their own platform. There's nothing stopping them from creating the little echo chamber they desire. But who am I kidding? They only know how to spend other people's money. So the left's next move is going to be to push further to have government controlling speech on all those platforms. And let's hope that Elon Musk plans to push back against that too. There's no such thing as democracy without free speech. And I only wish that leftists would learn this lesson.